Some days it sucks to be a Nats fan, but last night was not one of those nights as the Nationals offense explodes for 10 runs. And of course, the young guys, they carried on.
You are Locked On Nationals, your daily Washington Nationals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And yes, I'm your host, Ryan Clary. You can catch me on Twitter at RyanClary11. And later on in today's Locked On Nationals episode, we will have a Game 2 preview as Brad Lord returns to the starting rotation, hopefully for the foreseeable future. Cairo has alluded to that fact, but we'll have that preview as he takes on 2024 second overall pick Chase Burns, which should be a fun matchup. But in the second segment, there have been some trade rumors swirling around. And yes, Mackenzie Gore, he has been mentioned yet again. I'll tell you the latest on the Nationals and the trade rumors and get into some veteran pieces who likely could be sold. But we start off discussing yesterday's big win as the Nationals, you got what you wanted. If you are a Nationals fan at this point, you are watching for these young guys. You are watching for Brady House. You are watching for James Wood. You're watching for Daylen Lile. All of those guys got the job done and more in yesterday's contest. And before we jump into it, let's talk about Jake Irvin. Because Jake Irvin, in my opinion, something is wrong. I saw someone tweet about this yesterday, and quite frankly, I think it's totally valid. Just last year, or even earlier on this season, not really this season in particular, but last year, 2 years ago, Jake Irvin was sitting 95 miles per hour. And now we're sitting at 90 for his fastball. Is anyone going to draw any sort of attention to that at this point? Is Miguel Cairo and Mike DeBartolo, the interim manager and general manager of this team, is someone going to look into this and say, something might not be right with the Nationals' second best pitcher? Because let's be honest, something is wrong. And I'm no doctor, obviously. I'm a podcaster. I sit here and I talk about the Nationals and I love it. But something just feels off with him. And in yesterday's outing, again, his shortest start since his rookie season, actually, I believe it was 2023, something is not right with Jake Irvin. And I just feel as if this has been an ongoing theme and something has to be going on behind the scenes with him at this point. The fastball velocity is not just something that is obviously important in today's game, but in some cases, it can indicate an underlying issue, and in some cases, an injury. Something just feels off with him, but I think we can talk about that on another day when we have some more time. But good things happened yesterday, and I want to talk about those because, again, just to kind of reiterate the point, when you are watching Nationals baseball, you want to see the young guys do well. And that is what the Nationals did in yesterday's contest. You saw guys like Daylen Lile in the first inning with that bases clearing triple. Let's talk about Daylen Lile real quick. That was his second triple of the year, his first one being in Arizona, and that was a big one, by the way. But Daylen Lile, this guy belongs. Daylen Lile has actually really proven a lot to me right now. And you might look at the underlying numbers. He's batting .230 with a 645 OPS. Forget that for a second. Daylen Lile hits the ball hard, number one. He puts the ball in play consistently, and he's playing solid in the outfield. There is something there to build off of with Lyle at this point. And then talking about Brady House. In my opinion, Brady House is really been impressive so far. And again, the numbers are not eye-popping. I think his batting average at this point is because, again, the bat-to-ball skills, we knew they were good. But right now, he is batting .280 in the major leagues. And it's a pretty relatively good sample size at this point. The power has really kind of yet to come at this point. Like, again, he's not crushing doubles left and right. He's not out there hitting home runs every other day. But we can kind of see where the Nationals are coming from with this. you can see why the Nationals are very high on Brady House still. And it just kind of makes me question, where were the rest of the sites on this? Like, again, Brady House is not just a hitting first third baseman. The play that he made, the 91 mile per hour throw across the diamond when he was going against that third baseline, gets his momentum back to first base and has a dart, a 91 mile per hour dart to first base. That is impressive. Again, you look at the play and you're like, okay, that's a pretty routine play that we expect from just any major leaguer at this point. But that throw and that play overall is really incredible. And it's not just one of those things where I think people should just gloss over. For a young kid in the first month of his major league career, making that kind of play, I thought that showed a lot. And again, it kind of goes back to our comp for what Brady House could be down the line and kind of the ceiling of what he has here in DC. And that's kind of a Matt Chapman type, who is a fielding first third baseman, but who also has 30 plus home run pop, who can also put the ball in play, who can do all the things that you ask for him over at the third base position. That just kind of gave you a glimpse into the future of what it could be with Brady House. And I thought that was really cool. And then last but not least, James Wood. 116 mile per hour double off the bat, off the wall in the first inning. The Nationals do have some young talent. And with that young talent brings some excitement. It has not been rainbows and sunflowers here in DC as of late. It's been a tough 2 months here. But we can actually kind of get excited and build some momentum off of these young guys. Last night's game is what we all needed. We needed to see James Wood break out of that slump. I think he did just that. You want to see Brady House have a 3-hit night and make a good play over at third base. You saw just that. You wanted to see a bases clearing triple from Daylen Lile to break things open in the first inning, and you saw just that. The Nationals at times can be exciting, and a lot of the excitement stems from these young players. I thought yesterday was a hell of a game to watch, and yeah, while you should have put the Reds away a lot earlier, and while you should not have let them back in that game due to a big fourth inning, thanks to Jake Irvin kind of blowing it up there, and of course, the Nationals, they still found a way to win. In the scrappy Nats, they found a way to come up in the scoreboard. And of course, the Nationals, they're not the best team in baseball, but they sure can be a fun watch at times. So thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. And of course, check us out. Again, look up Locked On Nationals on YouTube and hit that subscriber button for your latest daily video of the Washington Nationals. So later on in today's show, you got Brad Lord going up against Chase Burns, a really intriguing pitching matchup tonight. An 18th round pick back in 2022 against the second overall pick in this past year's draft in 2024 out of Wake Forest, an electric talent that is Chase Burns. So we'll have that preview later on in today's program. But next, we get into some trade rumors. And yes, it is that time of year. We are just 9 days away from the MLB trade deadline. And guys, it's going to be an interesting one. So buckle up and get ready for those Mackenzie Gore rumors. I'll tell you all about that after this. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action. Why not make it a little more thrilling with FanDuel? You can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. And of course, I have been using FanDuel to track my favorite matchups, like tonight, Chase Burns going up against Brad Lord. I think Chase Burns, while he has walked a lot of players, he can get those strikeouts up. I've got the over on the strikeouts tonight for Chase Burns going up against this young, scrappy Nats team. But with that in mind, I think the Nationals do get the win. So I've got some action riding on tonight's Nats-Reds game. I think you should as well, because it makes it more fun. And of course, if you are new to FanDuel, well, New customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. So open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. Thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And yes, again, look up Locked On Nationals on YouTube, Apple, Spotify. Again, wherever you get your podcasts, you can catch me on Twitter at RyanClaire11 for all your latest Nationals news and notes. Mike DeBartolo spoke over this weekend, and of course, he introduced Eli Willits, the Nationals' #1 overall pick. This past week, Eli Willits has a ton of talent to bring to the table for the Washington Nationals. That was not the only thing he discussed this weekend because, again, we are just a few days away from the MLB trade deadline, and the Nationals, they're going to make some moves. I got some moves that they're going to make later on in today's segment. But let's start off with Mackenzie Gore because Mackenzie Gore is going to be the hot topic. And I think, according to a lot of Nationals fans, you're going to want to keep this guy because, again, got 2.5 years of control left. The same timeline when the Nationals decided to trade away Juan Soto. So we all kind of know that that is a thing that the Nationals and this fan base, they're going to have to realize. But Mike DeBartolo said that he has no interest at this point to trade Mackenzie Gore and some younger pieces on that team. So this team that has those younger pieces obviously includes James Wood, CJ Abrams, Dylan Cruz, Brady House, and yes, Mackenzie Gore is in that equation as well. But I'm not buying the Mackenzie Gore thing all just yet. Teams are always going to call about players. I am sure a few years ago, or even maybe even this year, teams are going to call about James Wood. Yes, they will. Teams call about anyone and everyone, and they are looking at new ways to improve their roster. I don't believe that Mike DeBartolo is going to go into this deadline saying that, yeah, we will not be selling Mackenzie Gore. They are not going to be calling the Red Sox. They won't be calling the Astros. They won't be calling the Mariners saying Mackenzie Gore is available. But that does not mean that teams will not be calling the Washington Nationals asking about Mackenzie Gore. I'm not going to entertain James Wood and the others at this point, but I will entertain Mackenzie Gore. And I think a lot of teams and Mike DeBartolo, they will also entertain that at this point. And it's not that crazy. Back when we traded Juan Soto, there was never a right time to trade him. You were trading away a Hall of Fame talent, and quite frankly, you got a Hall of Fame load in return. You have to think about that and the way that it has totally transpired this rebuild. While the Nationals have not been able to win games, and unfortunately, we haven't been able to win a lot of games, think of where you would be without that trade, though. You would not have your shortstop with CJ Abrams. You would not have your superstar 22-year-old left fielder with James Wood. You would not have Mackenzie Gore, your ace, your all-star of this team. You would not have Harleen Suzana, a 103-mile-per-hour flame-throwing right-handed pitcher who makes a rehab start today, by the way. You would not have him. You would not have Robert Hassel III, someone who was a promising young prospect still in the minor leagues. You have to consider these things. And again, you should not be the one calling teams selling them because, number one, that's not good business. You're going to be kind of deemed as desperate, and you want teams to be desperate to get the product that you have, and that's Mackenzie Gore. And I believe teams will be desperate to get an ace-like pitcher like Gore. Mackenzie Gore is an awesome talent. If the Nationals decide to stay put with him, then good. But if you also decide that there is a package out there that you simply cannot reject, then you should make that trade. And for the people out there saying, I don't want an interim GM making a move that could totally throw off this rebuild, I think you're wrong. Because again, to think for the fact that Mike DeBartolo does not know what he's doing is kind of silly. And while he may have that interim tag at this point, He knows as much baseball as Mike Rizzo. He knows as much baseball as name that GM out there. He's a baseball guy. He's an analytics guy. He understands baseball. He's done the scouting. He's done the analytics before. He gets baseball. So if he thinks that there is a trade out there that is just, you have to take it, then I hope the Lerner ownership group signs off on that deal. Because that is something that will probably have to happen. Because again, Lerners, we don't really know what's going to happen with their future. But we also don't know what's going to happen with Mackenzie Gore's future. We don't know what's going to happen with Mike DiBartolo and all the other guys who have interim tags at this point in time. All I'm saying is, if a team is willing to give up, not a Juan Soto-like package, but somewhere close to that, you're going to have to take it. And that is the best way for the Nationals to get out of this rebuild. It just is. So don't be surprised if Mackenzie Gore is traded. That's all I'm going to say. And yeah, Mike DiBartolo may say that he's not shopping him. He very much so could be right. But I'd be pretty surprised if teams don't call about him and the rumors surrounding Mackenzie Gore at this point. But let's get into some of the other veterans at this time, because the Nationals, they've got some guys to sell. And I think the most interesting guy to sell at this point might be your DH Josh Bell. I mean, we haven't really talked about Josh Bell all too much at this point, but did you know over his last 40 games, he is batting north of 300? His slugging is nearly a 500 at this point. Josh Bell has quietly turned around his season. And again, for all the people out there who are just kind of dunk on Josh Bell, and yeah, I've done it. We've all done it at this point. But he's having a better season than Nathaniel Lowe. He is. He might have a lower batting average, but he's doing more damage. And again, Josh Bell had a terrible start to this season. The first month and a half, 2 months of the year, batting sub 200, he was awful. But now you look at him, and over the course of the last 40 games, really basically half of the first half, he is now being one of your most valuable hitters at this time. Teams are going to call about him, and the Nationals, they're going to trade him. He's going to be gone. Another figure who is likely to be gone, closer Kyle Finnegan. Now, I've seen all the memes out there. Everyone talks about how he is just trying to tank his value before the deadline, which he feels like he does every single season. And it's kind of funny at this point, but it's also pretty true. Because again, Kyle Finnegan last night barely made it through that ninth inning. And it was almost a really close call because his ERA is back up to a 4.62. I felt like 2 weeks ago, he was at a sub-3 ERA, and he was on his way to being an all-star closer yet again. But that's not the case anymore. But he's also another figure who will be gone at this year's deadline. Mike DiBartolo has a job to do. His job is to clean up the mess that Mike Rizzo left. Mike Rizzo, you should have traded Kyle Finnegan last deadline. You should have traded guys like, name those veteran pieces that weren't traded at last year's deadline. A few years ago when the Nationals decided not to shop, name those veteran pieces, they have not done that. Mike Soroka should be traded at this year's deadline. If you are on an expiring contract, the Nationals should trade you. And I'm sorry. I went into this season thinking that the Nationals would not be sellers and that they may even be buyers or they would stay put. I was wrong. The Nationals were wrong. This team is not ready to compete at this point. It's clear. You have to move on from these veteran pieces who are number one on expiring contracts and number two, not a big help to this future. And who fits that piece as well, who I think has kind of worn down with Nationals fans over the time? Nathaniel Lowe. I would trade Nathaniel Lowe in a heartbeat at this point. He is not someone that I really look at as a future piece. We can find someone better than a 691 OPS. And while his home run numbers may be good, he's just one home run shy of his total from last season in way less games. Yeah, the power has been okay at times, but the consistency has not been. Getting on base has dropped nearly 70 points from last season. His exit velocities are not up to where they should be. His defense is not up to where it should be. On Baseball Reference, his B WAR is a 0.0. Now, WAR is not everything, but it does kind of give you an indication of how good a guy has been putting everything together. And by that, a 0.0 WAR, he has been no positive difference or negative difference whatsoever. Some team may look at him and say, you know what? He can play decent first base. He can have a little bit of power, and we need first base help. A team like the Red Sox, who are making a push right now, they may look at him and they may see value. And if they do, good for them. Because at this point, Nathaniel Lowe's got a year and a half left to control, and they may look at him and say, we can kind of make something out of this. And this is kind of what we need. We don't need any big-time superstar, but we need someone who is comparable and who could actually be something for this season and this postseason. So the Nationals, with the trade deadline approaching, there's going to be moves to made, and we'll be talking about them as we get on with this season. But there is a game tonight that I cannot wait for, in a very exciting pitching matchup with Chase Burns and Brad Lord of the Washington Nationals. We'll get into that after this. And yes, it is time to talk about OpenPhone. And if you're running a business, you know that every missed call is money left on the table. And think about the last time that you had a service emergency like a bursted pipe. And if the first plumber did not answer, did you wait? Nope. You went to the next one. And that's why having a reliable business line is so important. And that's why you need OpenPhone. And OpenPhone is the #1 business phone system that helps you streamline and scale customer communication, all from an app on your phone or computer. And yeah, you may have juggled a couple of different phones just to keep business and personal calls separate. Well, OpenPhone solved that instantly. Your whole team can share just one number and respond to customers like a shared inbox. No more who's handling this. And the AI agent handles after-hours calls, answers common questions, and captures leads, so I never miss a customer again. OpenPhone is offering Locked On Nationals listeners 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/lockedonmlp. That's OpenPhone.com/lockedonmlb. And if you have existing numbers with another service, OpenPhone will port them over at no extra charge. OpenPhone, no missed calls, no missed customers. Thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And yes, we are Locked On Nationals. We are your daily podcast for the Washington Nationals. And again, check us out on YouTube, our video version of this podcast. But we get into a preview of tonight's action. And quite frankly, I am very excited for this game tonight with Chase Burns, the 2024 #2 overall pick by the Cincinnati Reds out of Wake Forest from that pitching lab down there. This is going to be a fun matchup in tonight's game. #1, the fastball velocity is going to jump. He touches 100 miles per hour every now and then. And Chase Burns is just an electric talent. Coming out of Wake Forest, everyone knew about his slider. His slider, he uses nearly 33% of the time, and you kind of see that hovering around 89 to 91 miles per hour. And he's just an electric talent. So far, through his first 4 games started, it's been a little tough for him. He's walked a lot of guys. This is pretty common for guys making the jump from AAA up into the majors. But Chase Burns, it's going to click at some point, and hopefully it's just not tonight for the Washington Nationals. Again, I cannot reiterate this point enough. He is an electric talent. This is kind of Hunter Green 2.0 in my opinion. Maybe not the hype surrounding Green that it was coming out of high school for him back in 2017, but I think Chase Burns is kind of on that trajectory, and I think the Reds right now, they got a really bright future ahead of them because Green is an obvious all-star, great Cy Young type of pitcher. Then you have Chase Burns, who I think will get there at some point. He's been kind of rushed up through the majors, but as we have seen, the strikeout stuff, it's there. 25 strikeouts in his first 16 innings pitched. The only thing that has really killed him at this point is his walk rate. It has been A lot of walks so far. I do want to talk about this, though, with the Nationals and Brad Lord tonight. Brad Lord has a real opportunity to not only just take this job and run with it, but be a big part of this future. I've been kind of thinking to myself about this, and this is a big opportunity tonight for Brad Lord. He probably won't really have that much juice in the tank considering he's been out of the bullpen. He has not been stretched out, has not been used to that 5-6 innings pitch work hold that we would like to see from him. And the way that the Nationals bullpen has been used really this past weekend and last night, you kind of need a little bit more than 3 to 4 innings from Lord. That's likely not going to happen. So for the Nationals, the best case scenario is that Brad Lord goes in tonight's action and just absolutely dominates in quick innings. That's kind of what we need. Because quite frankly, if Brad Lord gets knocked out after the 4th inning, we're in big trouble. We're not going to win tonight if Brad Lord can't get 5 innings somehow. And by the way, that's not likely. Because again, the Nationals bullpen, we've covered it. You've seen it. You watch every game just like I do. This bullpen is not good. It's one of the worst 3 bullpens in baseball by far. If they cannot get in and get quick outs with Brad Lord, we're in trouble in tonight's contest. But again, I want you to reiterate this point. I'm really excited for Brad Lord tonight. I think, again, this is kind of one of those things in a rebuild where not much is exciting. There's not much to tune in for. But for these young guys and a lot of unproven guys, I can get up and watch this. This is a fun, exciting night. And if you're going to the ballpark, just 2 very different pitchers. The number 2 overall pick in last year's draft, going up it's a 2022 18th round pick at a USF. That's pretty cool for Brad Lord. So I'm excited for tonight's game. What says you? I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Have a good one. Enjoy tonight's barn burner of a game, and go Nats.